Why? How do I get rid of my face?
Well, I'm sharing the screen right now, so you should see my screen.
Okay.
And just click on the icon of me at the bottom.
Ah.
Okay, so we're going to create a new document, start with a new document, and I think the key to remember with InDesign is it's a container, right? It's just a holding place. So what can be really confusing when you start to set up an InDesign document is you make this new document and you start pulling pictures in and content in from all of these different locations on your computer, right? So if you start moving the locations, InDesign can get confused and you need to relink things. At the end, what you can do, let's say you're, and it may not make a difference. You may set up an InDesign document and you have a beautiful, happy environment because it's able to find everything on your computer just fine, just perfectly. But then if you send this InDesign document to somebody without all of those, these are just pointers to things. So if you send the .indd file to somebody, they're not going to be able to experience all of those images need to go with it. So if you're sharing an InDesign project with someone, there is a command at the end where you can collect for output. And what that does is it goes around and follows all those links and grabs all of those individual things, puts them in a new folder, and packages it all together, and you take that package and send it to somebody. And that includes your InDesign file with a folder called links that includes all of those random stuff that you've linked to out there. I'm kind of anal about it though, so what I like to do is I just like to be very precise about where I'm putting things. So if you're working on project 1, I would make a folder called project 1 and save your .indd file right in project 1, and all of the images and whatnot that you're going to be bringing into this, put them in that folder as well. If you have something though, the caveat is, like let's say, and that makes sense because where else would you put all of the files for project 1? In the project 1 folder, right? So the only thing would be like if you made a template, if this, and you had your special logo right there, that probably won't exist in the project 1 folder. That would exist in the James Taylor branding directory, right? So if you can just turn the speaker on. I just wanted to capture the audio. So that would be something that probably wouldn't be there. But in the case when you go to generate the PDF to send to turn in, it will be able to find it. It generates a PDF. And once you make a PDF, that all becomes part of the package. Okay, am I telling you anything you didn't know?
Does it zip those files?
It doesn't zip them. When you make a PDF, it just becomes part of the PDF.
Sure, but I mean, if you send it as the IDD or whatever, would it zip them?
No, we'll do a demonstration. It just creates an InDesign file. It creates a folder called links where it puts all of it, gathers up all of those images that, and Illustrator files that you've put into the project. And then it also creates a notes area. It takes your fonts and puts them in a fonts folder so that you can send off the whole thing together, but it doesn't automatically zip it.
Are we talking about the same thing when we say, because what I do is I package it?
That's what it's called, packaging.
Okay, so if you go down to where the, the save, go to the bottom, it says package. And the thing that's great about that is, so it gives you a whole folder of stuff. It packages up your fonts, all your images, all that stuff. But it also throws in a PDF, which you then can send to your client. And then it's more protected and not changeable.
Yeah, you obviously, if you send the PDF to people. I didn't realize that when you package it, it also creates a
PDF. I don't know that it always does. Maybe it asks me, but I always want that PDF. That's usually why I package it.
So I just am creating a new document. I think that the key thing here to notice, I chose print and I chose letter. Oh, this is not very, it's kind of, well, can you guys see okay? It's kind of a dark screen. Okay, so I chose letter right here. The one thing I want you to pay attention to is this checkbox here, facing pages. If you were laying out a book, you'd want facing pages. But for everything in this class, I really just want you to have a bunch of consistent 8.5 by 11 pages. So we don't want facing pages. You could go back in preferences and change it later, but I always forget where that is. So just turn it off before you generate your new document. Okay, and it doesn't matter. I'm not going to worry about the gutter and the columns. Those can all be changed later. I might want to change my unit to inches just because that's more familiar to me. And I'm going to say go ahead and create. Okay, so we have a new blank document. The things that are going to be, James was asking last week about like creating a template, all right? So the first thing I'm gonna do is I'm going to save this in a reasonable location. And you'll notice by default, I'm just gonna put it on, I don't want it in this PC, how about desktop? Okay, create a new folder. Well, whatever, I'll just sit around on the desktop. I don't know how to do a new folder on a PC. Okay, we'll save this as demo1.indd. So you notice that that's the default file for an InDesign document. You can't save to this PC. Oh, okay, all right. All right, and I'll maybe if I just go like this, new folder, demo, save it in the demo folder. Okay. Anything that you want to appear on multiple pages, what you're going to want to do is set up a master page. You guys ever done master pages before? Mm-hmm. It's kind of like in PowerPoint where you have a master slide, but a lot better. It's by default. Do you see how it says A master? And it's applying the A master style to page 1. So some of the things that I might want on my master page would be like my logo, my name, and my address if I were making something that I would send to a client. For a class project, you might just want to have your name. So we could design something that would be on the A master page. So I'm going to create a text box up here. And I'm going to say, Julia Griffey, Intm 3200, project 1. Okay, and then maybe we'll stylize this a little bit. And because this is only going to be used once, I'm going to show you paragraph styles in just a second. But because this is something that's only going to be in my header area and I'm not going to reuse this style treatment later on in my document, I'm not going to bother turning it into a style. I do want it to be right aligned. And I don't like this hideous typeface. So what I could do is by default, I could set a, I could just, I'm not going to get into that right here, but I'm just going to pick a different type style and then we'll talk about type styles and paragraph styles in just a second. So let's pick something that's less attractive than, more attractive than what we have here.
Less attractive.
Less attractive, always the goal. Less
Comic Sans.
Yeah. So I'm just going to do something like that. Maybe make it bold. And just for the purpose of, to give you an idea, maybe you want to have your logo up here in your, oops, so I made my text box too small, and so that hid my text. Bad idea. Maybe I need to, oh, actually I moved it. That was the problem. It's over here. Okay. So anytime you put text on InDesign, it has to be in a text box. So I don't actually need it to be this wide, so I'll just make it like that. These blue lines are just guides to tell you where your objects are. So let's put our logo in up here. And the great thing about InDesign, I'm going to school you on some InDesign history here. So look out. Back in the day, Adobe had a program called PageMaker, and that was their solution for desktop publishing. But most people that did like flyers and newsletters and whatnot that were like real professional graphic artists, nobody used PageMaker. The program was Quark. And Quark was made by, I think the company, I'm not sure if the name of the company was Quark too, but the software was called Quark. Maybe you've heard of it.
I used it.
Yeah, back in the day, Quark
Right.
was the big thing. So Quark was made by a different company that was not Adobe. And so everybody, it was very basic. It didn't have a lot of bells and whistles. But it was like the industry standard. So you would know Photoshop, Illustrator, and Quark. Then Adobe really decided, oh, this is ridiculous. We should be able to make something that can compete with Quark. And they came out with InDesign. Now, of course, many designers were very reluctant to switch over to InDesign because they had so much invested in Quark in terms of their experience and whatnot. But what Adobe did that was really smart, that gave them the edge above Quark. Do you have any guesses?
The cost.
Yeah, well, cork was very
Cork was like
expensive.
$1,200 back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And the other thing is that InDesign would allow you to bring in Adobe native files.
Right.
So if you were laying something out in Photoshop, the native file format is PSD, right? So you could leave it in that PSD format and then bring it into InDesign. Whereas if you were using Cork, you needed to save it down as like a TIFF or a JPEG, most typically a TIFF since that's a less compressed verb. So you'd have to save it down into a different format before you could bring it into Cork. With InDesign, the beautiful thing is I can bring in my PSD or my .ai file, my native Illustrator file, and then double click on it in InDesign and then actually get into the Adobe program to be able to edit it. So the nice thing that InDesign did is cost was a big thing because if you bought, you know, they packaged it as the Creative Cloud bundle, so you were getting it anyway, or you're getting it pretty cheap. Why would you go invest in Cork? And you didn't have to save different versions of your files to be brought into your page layout. So.
And it is almost essentially exactly the same program.
Very, very similar.
kinda
So the learning curve was pretty simple.
Easy, yeah.
I think the people, so I'm just gonna go get some, let's just make something really quickly in Illustrator so we can bring in a vector-based file so that you can get a sense of what it would be like to have your logo in there. And keep in mind, one thing that I find a little disorienting is if I'm working on the master page or if I'm on page 1. And it looks like, now did I put this, I want it on my master page because then I can just apply that style to all my other pages and that's gonna show up. But I think I made a mistake here because if I double click on master, it's blank. So let's go to page 1. I'm gonna take this, I'm gonna cut it, and I'm gonna go to A master and I'll paste it. I should have done paste in place, but I didn't. So now, even though I'm working on A master, and there's some clues, very subtle clues. Here's one right down here. Do you see it says A master down here? To me, it's too subtle because I'm always have to wait. Am I working on the master page or am I working on page 1 or what am I working on? But I definitely have this on the A master page. Okay, so let's do one more thing. We'll go to Illustrator and we'll create something really simple. I opened Illustrator. Are we still thinking about opening? Is that what the deal is? Why is it not opening? We'll take. Okay, well, it's thinking for a second. Let's jump over to, well, let me just show you how those master pages are. I'm going to create a new page. And by default, it applied the A style to it. So here I have page 1, page 2, and automatically it has that header information because they both have the A style to it. If I take this no style icon up here and drag it onto page 2, what that does is it converts no style, and now my header doesn't show up anymore. So that's how that works. All right, we're just gonna add a little bit. I mean, for the most part, you're going to just be adding text boxes, you know, for your titles and whatnot. Let's imagine you're laying out a portfolio. I do want to bring an Illustrator or Photoshop document in here just for demonstration purposes, but it's taking a little bit of time opening that software. So now I want to be on page 1 because I want to create some content that is appropriate for page 1. So I'm just going to create one big text box right here. And let's say I start laying out my objective, and this is text that goes with the objective. I can put some lorem ipsum in there. Let's do that just for placeholder purposes. You guys have heard of lorem ipsum, I'm sure.
I was just thinking that'd be a good name for someone. My name is Lauren.
I'm sure somebody did that.
I'm sure.
Oh, wait, I didn't want to do that. I just want to generate, okay, generate lorem ipsum. Okay, I just want a paragraph of text so that we can, so let's say that we have a header, and then our next section maybe is our target audience.
Also, if you want to copy the text you have on the top, you just select it all and use your dropper.
Oh, yeah, okay. All right, so this looks pretty ugly and non-styled right here. But if you want to make it look consistent, the best thing to do would be able to create a text style. So we're going to go into Windows, and I'm going to go to type in tables. I'm sorry, no, styles, and then we want to go to paragraph styles. So the only style I have is the basic paragraph style. So I'm going to create a new style, and I'm going to call it my, I'll rename it, and let's just call it copy. So this is going to be my body copy style. And I'd like it to be basic character formats. I'd like it to be Calibri, and I want it to be size 11, and I want my leading to be maybe 17. And I'm just going to say, okay. So now, because I had it selected, it immediately picked up the body copy style. Okay, so any additional text that I create, let's say I create another text box down the road, I say text here, it doesn't have that style, right? Unless I select it and I choose the body copy style and it applies that. Where it really gets to be helpful is that when I have stuff like headers. So I'm going to create a new style here, and I would like this to be my headers. Okay, and it could be based on body copy if I wanted to. That just means take the body copy style and let's apply some more styles to it, which actually is kind of helpful because we know that body copy is Calibri and it is 11. So let's change it a little bit. We'll make, instead of Calibri 11, let's say we will make it bold and we will make it style, we'll make it 16, we'll make the leading, I don't know, I'm just playing with it right now. But then we can get a little bit more sophisticated where we can say indents and spacing. So usually I like to put a little bit of space after each of my headings and before each of my headings so we can fine tune it right here. I'm just going to accept the default. And I set up the style, but I didn't apply it to anything yet. So I'm going to select my text here. And then I am going to choose my headers. And now I have that style applied to it. If I go in and I modify, oops, I didn't mean to make that headers. If I go in and I modify the header style, and like I said, I like that little extra space after the header. So I'm going to say indents and spacing. And let's just say, let's put 1/4 inch. There we go. After each time I put down a header. That's too much. But
are there other types of measurement, like points? Or?
Yes, you can, it'll understand, like if you put in points.
Okay.
So now that gives it a little bit more breathing space. And then you can control the space above. So if I didn't create this extra paragraph break here, right, for target audience, and I'm just going to apply the header style to it, it feels like the headers need a little bit more space above it as well. So I'm going to go into my header style and I'm going to say indents and spacing, space before, and let's give it a little bit of space. Okay. So this is just the very basics of laying out, making consistent styles for your InDesign document. Keep in mind that all of this work is on page 1. So now if I go and I add a page, then it kept the A style because it by default had a master style applied to it. And by the way, you can have lots of master pages. So if you want another master page for some other reason, like let's say you were laying out a book and on, you have a right hand and a left hand side page, and always on your left hand side page, you like to have the page number over in the left corner, but on right hand side pages, the page number is on the right corner. So different pages might have different master styles. Or maybe you have a template for where to put the chapter headings. That might be a different master page. So you can make multiple master pages. For this class, I just don't want Frankenstein PDF files. So then, obviously you're gonna have a lot of writing, right, for this project. I'm gonna show how to put an image in, and this should help you get started creating these InDesign files. Do you guys have any questions so far? Because I don't want to cut off James because I know you want to present something. So I'll shut up quickly. Yeah.
Well, just so when you're making a new page, you should select like page 1 and then click new page. Because for mine, it's like over on the left side. Like it'll put, when I make
Because you
pages.
probably have facing pages turned on.
Okay.
And remember at the very beginning, I said, unless
Okay.
you're laying out a book, and you can go back and remove facing pages by, I think in your preferences,
Okay.
it's
Document
general and,
Document setup.
yes, you're right, document setup is where you want to fix it.
Okay, I see.
Got it?
Yes.
Okay, let's just get an image in there, and then as you start putting your stuff in InDesign, you know, as you're working on this project, it doesn't have to look perfect, but then if you come to class and you're like, oh, how do I get it to do this and this and this? I can help you with that, hopefully. So how come no other Adobe product wants to open on this computer? What is going on with that? Okay, well, we're just going to, because this is being a little bit finicky, I'm not going to get upset about it, and we're just going to take another image and bring it into our print screen. Bring it into our, yeah, we can just say, or I can just say sample logo. Probably some weird stuff is going to come up. Okay, so this is perfect. Now, obviously, these images are on the web, right? So they're going to be JPEGs or GIFs, and really our logo would be a .ai file. It'd be something that we had created in Illustrator. So I'm going to save the image as, and because I'm going to be really organized here, I'm going to put it into this PC, documents, remember this demo folder, and I'm going to call this logo. So I'm saving it in the folder where I'm keeping all my InDesign files and whatnot, just to be organized. So then I want to bring it in there. Now this is the logo. Maybe I want it to be on every master page. So I'm going to double click back on a master, use this little tool right here, which is the rectangular frame tool. And I'm just going to draw a rectangle. So anytime you insert a graphic, you have to create a container for it first. And then I'm going to say edit place.
I have never done that.
You don't do it that way?
No, I just pick place and then the file.
Actually, I usually do Control D.
Control D?
That is the place. And so I grab it, I go navigate to it, and I open it. And so now it becomes inside of this window. Well, shit, you can't see all of it, right?
It's all huge.
So the window, if you can imagine, you have this graphic and it's sitting behind the window right here. So I could make the window bigger to reveal more, or I could say, you know what, I want it to fit in this space right-ish, here-ish, right? So I use this a lot. I say object fit content proportionally.
Nice.
And it scales it down without distorting it, and it fits into the window right there. Okay.
What's that called again?
It's object, fitting, and fit. There are these options here. You can fit the frame to the content. So remember, the image came in quite large, so you could say, no, make a window big enough to hold it. So what gets a little confusing in InDesign is that you have this tool right here, which is your selection tool, that modifies your window, right? So I can make the window bigger or larger. That's not going to affect the graphic. Then if you use this tool right here, if you see the brown, that's actually modifying the graphic inside of the window. So that can be what's very confusing in InDesign.
And make sure you hold shift when you move it so then it'll retain its.
Right. I obviously just distorted this.
But that's not available in Illustrator, right?
No, in Illustrator, you're just modifying the graphic itself.
Well, I just looked if you could do the object fit proportionally to a box.
No.
I've never seen that before.
No,
Yes.
but you just have to think of InDesign as like a container with windows in it,
Sure.
where you're bringing in these pieces of disparate elements.
It would just be nice because,
Yeah.
you know, sometimes when you grab an image, it's way bigger than your document.
I
in
wish
Illustrator.
they were more consistent among programs.
I'm not the Adobe
Well, what-
person.
Fix it.
So does it really matter that this window is that big for this purpose? Not really, because this is all gonna, but just to be neat and tidy about it, I don't want company name. Let's just say it's right there. So now it's on a master. It's gonna show up on any page that has the a master style applied to it. So this should help you get started, you know, setting up your template, coming up with your paragraph styles. And then when you asked for a sample brief, James, this is the kind of thing where like if you set one up, you know, you have this as a template, you just bang out a different objective, you have, you know, your master page, you have your logo, you have everything set up, and then you just swap out your writing, you know. So if you make a nice template, it'll work. Okay, we're just gonna do a quick packaging so you can see. I guess one last thing I should show you. Obviously, a lot of the things that you're gonna be making for this first project are gonna be in Photoshop and Illustrator, right? So we already talked, there's no reason why you have to change it to any other format than PSD or .ai. So you can use the Adobe native formats and just place it in there the way that I just showed you. So I created a graphic box and then I did Control D, and that's the shortcut for edit and place, or what is it a shortcut for? File, place, file, place. And that's how you bring that graphic in there. Control D. So you're gonna obviously, you know, maybe your next page might be, I'm gonna copy my text box. Well, let me show you one other trick. I'm gonna zoom out a little bit and you can see my multiple pages here. Now let's say my text is really, really long. So I'm gonna just duplicate these boxes here. All right, and then I get a little warning. Do you see that little red plus sign over here? Mm-hmm. This is saying, I can't fit, it's too tight. That's what it's saying, I can't fit in the text box. Mm-hmm. So what you can do is you click on it and you get this weird little bit of text going with you. And then I'm gonna say, do this, and it continued over to the next page. So you've linked the text boxes together so that there's a natural flow between here and here. If you don't believe me, check this out. If I add a little bit of text here, so I'm gonna.
I don't believe you.
Do you see how that's affecting the text below it?
Well, there, now I do. Now I do.
I've seen.
Okay, so on page 2, maybe I wanna put my wireframes in. So perhaps, right at this point, you probably just want to maximize your space. And you know, you go right here, you do Control D, you navigate to your .ai files or your PSD files, and then you bring your wireframes in here. It might make sense to put, you know, because these are big graphics, to put them on, you know, separate pages. But I really want you to have a beautiful InDesign file that you can use again and again for different projects in this class, and start to feel comfortable with InDesign, because I know we don't really actually teach it in any specific class. So this is a real opportunity to like feel comfortable with it.
So one thing that I use all the time is Shift W, because what happens then is it'll show you everything that you've done without any boxes or see, and then hit the arrow key and it'll so you'll get a good idea of what you've created without all the borders and guide.
I obviously have an extra return in here because there's more space in here than in here, you know, but the benefit of setting up those styles the way I did is that it's going to be nice and consistent. You know, you're not going to make a mistake where, oh, I made that heading 14 points and the other one 16, oops, and it's going to look terrible. So use your styles, you know, so that you have that kind of consistency. That's a good tip. I didn't know about that Shift W.
I use it all the time.
I do too.
Really?
Yeah.
So file export is a quick way to generate a PDF file. So once you had the whole thing done, you can generate a PDF file just by file export. That's pretty straightforward. We talked about packaging. Remember that? So I've been pretty organized and there are not a lot of files being referenced in here. All I have is that one logo, right? But imagine I have lots of files in there. So what is the command we need to package? This is the command that does it. So I'm going to say package. And then it's giving me a warning because it's in RGB mode. It doesn't really matter all that much. If this were going to print, you would want to make sure all of your images were in CMYK mode. But I'm not going to worry about it right now. I'm going to go ahead and say package. Publication may be saved. That's fine. It creates a text file that adds some notes about your InDesign thing. So I'm just going to hit continue. Where do you want to put it? I'm gonna put it inside my demo folder just so you can, well, I'll put it inside documents so you can see. We'll call this the demo 1 package. Okay, it's giving me a warning about my fonts, saying they might be copyrighted and whatever. So you'll see that when I created this document, anything that I've brought into any of those windows are going to be under the links. And like I said earlier, they could be in different locations all over the place on your computer, right? But when you package it, so let's look at the package that it created. So if we go to this PC, documents, and we go to demo 1 package. So Pamela was right. It did generate the PDF for you, but it also organized it all. Here's your InDesign file. It creates this IDML file, which I believe, I've had to use it for one reason. I believe it
says on the side over there, it's a markup.
Yeah, I think older versions of InDesign will read it if you have to go back a generation in InDesign or something like that. There's probably other purposes for it, and I just don't know. And then it took everything that you've linked to and put it in a nice little folder called links. In our case, all we had was this logo.jpg, right? But if I had wireframes from all over, images from all over the place, it would pull them all into that nice little links folder. And then document fonts. Here's my Calibri right here. This is great because if I gave this to somebody else to work on, they would have everything they needed to work on that master INDD file by packaging it. Does that kind of make sense? Okay, so no Frankenstein PDFs. Got it? You have no excuses now. All right, I am going to shut up because I know James wants to show his stuff and whoever else has to get off to class. So I will shut up. And you want to just come up here, James? Or you want to join the Hangout?
Yeah, I'll just join it.
Okay.
If you could put a link.
Hi, to the board. Come on. All right, James, you might want to turn your volume down and then go ahead and click the green button that says share screen.
Just hit desktop.
Do you see that green button with the?
Yeah, I hit that, and then it says desktop or Google Hangouts.
I think you want to pick share everything.
I'm just gonna hit desktop.
Okay.
Your screen sharing.
Okay. All right, so then you're going to just start pulling up the things you want to show us.
I don't see my arrow up there. Oh, yep.
There you go. So this is,
Ooh, okay.
don't show anything embarrassing on your computer.
Oh boy, here we go. All right. So this is the template that I made in Word, but I'm ready to throw Word out that window. It's 4 stories down. So I'm actually doing a real client. I have a friend who's starting a cleaning business, but behind that cleaning business, she wants to develop a logo that will encompass anything that she expands to. So right now she's Hummingbird Home. It's actually Hummingbird Home Company. Hummingbird Homes, the domain has been purchased already, which we've already talked about. So it's going to be Hummingbird Home. She's currently defining her brand, and she needs assets, as in the #1 asset that she came to me for is a logo. I kind of expanded it to the website because for this project, and she eventually wants a website anyway. The target audience, she works exclusively out of West County area right now, which is really smart because there's a lot of rich people that live there, which includes all of those areas right there. I actually live in Baldwin. She lives in Maryland Heights, which is super close to West County. I think some people believe it's part of it. In that area, family income is plus 70K, so there's a lot of money to be taken from that area. I like to try and figure out how to get it out of people's pockets too. Those families spend a lot of hours at work. Their career is very important to them. So coming into that area with a cleaning company is very good for the taking. The other target there, though, is realtors. They hired her to do deep cleans before they do a house showing or they do a listing. So she does a lot of those things, those one-time things. Her expected outcomes are she's trying to get all of this across the digital realms. She really just wants to start with Facebook. I don't even know if she has a Twitter account right now, but she wants to be able to share some original content across those and maybe curated and featured. We'll find out later. But she needs the assets. She has a business card right now, but she wants a logo to actually go on those. And then she's thought about decals for her car she drives around, maybe some posters here and there. As I spoke with her about her brand voice, she likes this idea of simple, fresh, clean. That's what her business card says right now. It's simple, period, fresh, period, period. And she wants us to be an authentic and creative this brand voice. Where she differs from competition is that she's by herself. And so when you hire her as a company, she doesn't just send random people over to your house to clean your house. You know you're getting her. She will sit with you. She'll know your kid's name. She'll understand the house, and it'll be her each week. And then this is just more of the description of the project. And by the way, I added brand voice because I want that on my template when I make this in totally cool InDesign. I can't wait to switch over to InDesign because I hate Word. I hate Office. It's all header and footer, which drives me nuts. And then, so we'll work on a logo. I'll show it to you in a second. She has two that she's choosing from. She really doesn't have a color palette. I'll explain that here in a moment when we look at a website that I'm going to use as an example. And then the website right now is really just concentrated on the bare minimum. The about, the services, the contact information, and we'll get to that here in a second. I have an example. So when it comes to my flow chart, I can't wait to make it in InDesign. We have the home, which is the landing, the about, which is her story, my story, services, cleaning, and then there's three different kinds of services. You know, the scheduled, the one-time, the deep clean that I spoke of, and on our contact area, we'll talk about that also. I'm going to redo that completely in InDesign. And then when it comes to the wireframe, I found I want to do her a one-page websites are the in thing right now. It's what all the cool kids are doing. So I want to keep it to a one-page bootstrap template. I think when I show you the logo, I like her logo centered. I'll show you that in a moment. I may get to the point where I make her a video. I really enjoy doing that when I tell someone stories. She has a pretty good story about why she's doing this and her name. Then there's the about portion right here, if you can kind of see me circling it. The services she provides. And again, this nav bar at the top will go with the page. That's what I try and do on all my websites. I like that as it goes with it. That's how you navigate the one-page website. It's more like an agency template for Bootstrap. And then the only thing that I want to add is she has some clients that absolutely love her. I'd love to get their testimonials and put them in there with maybe a picture. And then I don't know if she'll want this get in touch idea of contact. Maybe she just wants her phone number, email address, but there's Facebook and Twitter. Facebook and Twitter are also in the footer. So we'll have to discuss that, but this is just a general wireframe layout that I have for her as of right now. That is the basics of what was. I have one more thing to show. Sorry. The logo that she's looking at right now, this is what I have for her. Like I said, it's Hummingbird Home Company. She likes the distressed look. You can't really see it on the screen. It is distressed. It's more vintage. She's in between that and this. I made these curls. They're not set in stone. I showed them to her last night. She doesn't know that she likes both of them here. She may want a curl down here on the O. She might just want one on the beginning H and the last O, which I'm looking to do for her. But I don't have a lot of time to work on the logo right now. I've got a lot of logos I'm doing.
That's going to look really good embroidered.
Yeah, and a decal too on her car when she drives around. So what she likes in the realm of what she's thinking of is Magnolia. She loves, if you don't watch good old Fixer Upper with Chad and or Chad Chip and Joanne. Come on now, I watch it. Does anyone else watch it? Come on. So she loves the Magnolia brand. That's why she's very text oriented, and that's the Magnolia brand right there. She wants to spread it like they did into organizing, home decor, things like that. That's why we're keeping it, not saying it's a cleaning service. And then, so I went into some cleaning services and looked at some things. What I found is this. I believe this is going to work very well. If she wanted to purchase this, this is available for purchase. I can make it also, but this almost has her fonts already, which is really funny to me. But this is kind of what I'm looking at. See how the scroll bar goes with it, the nav bar at the top. This is, and the other thing is she wants it black and white. And what I'm thinking of is in the background, I put hummingbirds. I will put sketched hummingbirds in the background of it. Yeah. So there is all that. That's kind of what I'm looking at. So I'll go back to this like you wanted.
Right.
And there it is.
Do you guys have any comments?
Sure. Sure.
Did you say the logo design class? The one for the cover?
I did.
Oh, great. I was.
Yeah.
I recognize your logo. Okay. Okay.
Oh, yeah. All right. And your question is? Oh, I took the, yeah, I did.
It's nice to do, and then the fact that we were talking about if someone hires her, they get her. That doesn't allow her to grow. So
Right.
Right.
you might want to consider how to phrase that. Like everyone should hire her to her, her mission statement and her.
Yep.
So that's.
Oh, I talked to her about it. I mean, this is like,
She wants.
I have to help these people because this is the second person I've talked to into quitting their job. So I feel really bad about it. So, yeah, so I need her to hire people. So I don't feel bad about it.
We gotta go.
Well, I have a bunch of things to say about this. First of all, some things complaints of CJ. Okay, you talked a little bit about your target audience, and I like the idea that you haven't got too specific with the name of it. That's good strategy. The reason why people hire cleaning people is, yes, for a clean home, but you want the feeling of coming home and it's just not a shithole. They want to be able to walk in and be like, oh,
One last thing.
It smells good. And so I think, appeal to not like, I'll do it clean, and they want, you're appealing to the results of the cleaning, like this. So I think your ideas about your color palette, this white, this, really, yeah, sparkly, clean, that's what you want to communicate on, not
Okay.
the fact that you're selling cleaner services.
I'm gonna put that.
And then scroll down, there were just a few other thoughts. When you do your everybody wants the $9. Can you get it through her cleaning service? I don't know.
Oh, that's not what she's going for. I may have misspoke.
No, I know, but I
Okay.
mean, she's not going to redecorate your home or anything, but everybody wants that aesthetic, right?
Oh,
Right, so
gotcha,
then
okay.
your idea kind of borrowing that aesthetic is gonna kind of, that's great. People are gonna like that.
Okay, good.
Okay, so go down
Yeah.
to your flow chart. We talk about this a lot, Hector, and just be very specific here. First of all, make sure visually designate what's gonna be a page and what's not gonna be a page. So the thing with the one-page layout, you have layout for snippets, but there probably are gonna be instances where you click on learn more, and it'll take you to all the client testimonials page, right?
I wasn't gonna do that, no.
Okay, well, designate which is gonna be a section and which is gonna be a page.
How do you do that? I haven't taken that class.
Well, differentiate somehow.
Like just put a P next to it or something?
I don't know, maybe it's a triangle, maybe it's a circle, I don't
Oh,
know what
okay,
it is.
okay.
But also, if Twitter and Facebook are not the same thing as the page, do not page. Right?
Okay.
You're taking, this is your account on third, this is.
Change the hierarchy.
Well, yeah, change your visual representation, because you're visually representing this the same as this, right?
Yep.
And also, first of all caps is it. Just flat out there. And then when you have a heavy blue and a heavy white, make it so that, like, if this were the lightest white possible and this were a color, we would see the name first as opposed to all of this blue and line work.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And I don't know if you just keep it the way it is right now. Go into Illustrator, well, you can build this in Illustrator, and when you do.
Oh, you built InDesign doesn't have a capability of building the hierarchy.
It's easier in Illustrator. than
It's
just
easier in
putting it
Illustrator?
there
Okay.
in Design.
Okay.
I would do it in Illustrator and really have very precise control over the weight of your lines, the color of your lines, and you'll be astounded at what a difference it makes, because people just see this, not blue.
Yeah, I hate. I worked on it. I went to bed last night. I finally got so mad at Word.
I'm just when you make color choices,
Yeah.
it'll make a big difference.
Well, should I do a color choice based on my own company or based on her company? Because this is my template that's going to be used on every company.
And I don't think it really matters.
It doesn't matter? Okay.
Yeah.
Right. I just am trying to decide. Like, I've been thinking about that all together. Do you build a template based on them, or it's my stuff, right? Okay.
It's just the solid blocks of color. You know, if you print this out, it's a lot of ink, you know, you want to lighten it up a little bit. Lighten up, you know, I would keep this a nice white background, very subtle lines.
Okay.
Edward Tufte talks about the least effective difference. What that means is like, how minimal can you make this line work so that we can see the line work there, but it's not overshadowing what's important, which is the content itself. You see what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We gotta go, Julian.
I know, this sucks. No, it totally sucks.
You gave us permission.
I know.
On you.
So, didn't anymore. So, if anybody else presents, does anybody else have stuff to present? You do? Okay, cool.
I have a
Thank
little.
All right.
Not as much.
Can you get into the Hangout?
Yeah, I was already in there.
Okay, cool. And so Alex, can you turn on your audio? And we'll look at Alex's stuff here. Do you guys like me creating another session on Friday so you have an opportunity to jump in?
Yeah, to design how to work great, and I couldn't do.
I was gonna do 8 o'clock, and then I was like, I had to sit around it, and I'm like, oh, I'm gonna do it now, and get, you know, so I don't have to worry about it later. So, I try and do something different times on Friday each week.
Okay.
This is just about you getting your critiques in. Yeah. And because we have to have a short, you know, so. So Alex, let's take a look at what you have.
Will you undo your screen or something?
I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay.
Not
So
even.
if you can stay, hang out, and invite, bring your InDesign work in progress so that you can help on your computer and help you.
Did that work?
Yeah, I think so. Oh, wrong button. So I haven't got all fancy with it yet, but this is just like the basics. I was gonna do a wedding like boutique for their website, like a dress boutique. So sorry, wedding dress boutique, and I have started on the objective and all that, and then I have my flow chart started. It needs a little fixing, but pretty much all I have at the moment.
Yeah.
I was gonna add some more for like the target audience and everything too, but
So, is this gonna be really an e-commerce site?
kind of, sort of like
Cause you.
more of a e-commerce kind of like what they have in store.
Oh, so it would be, there's a bunch of ways you could look at it.
Yeah.
That build sites, like as a business, do they create, like, let's say you become Alex, the wedding expert,
Yeah.
right? And people are going to your site and reading your blog and everything, and you talk about the best rates, the best deals and whatever. Your site, which featured wedding dresses, and it would be, you would be, because you built up this content about weddings and you're the
Talking
wedding
about
expert,
it.
yes, you have affiliate relationships, so that when people click on these wedding dresses that might be sold at David's Bridal or whatever, each one. So you're incentivized to create content that's going to be picked up by search engines and position yourself as an expert in the field of wedding. You're not selling anything,
Yeah.
except you're driving traffic and to your site, and then driving traffic to these bridal companies. So that would be one way to think about it. As, I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, you're not going to generate 1,000 blog posts in the next week or so all about wedding stuff. We're doing a pretend client.
Yes.
And demonstrating that you understand that business model could be kind of cool to have a piece like, I made a website for David's Bridal. No, you made a website for Alex, the wedding expert. And you sit down in an interview and you talk about, you know, this is a website that would be designed for someone like such and such and such and such. You could probably find people out there. And it's designed to drive revenue through affiliate relationships, and mock up a website like that.
Yeah.
Or you could say, okay, this is for a website for a brick and mortar store where you can go into the store and try on dresses, and it would be to create kind of a site that's like, you want to get people in the door. So it's like really cool and luxurious, and it's mothers of the brides and grandmothers and the brides, and they're sitting around sipping champagne and watching people try on dresses, and it's about the experience. And so, type of site.
Yeah.
Or it could be like the St. Louis Where to Buy, you know, like this is a whole site that talks about the best deals. And so I think I would clarify in your head the type of site that you're building, you know, who your potential client is. Like, think about Alex, the wedding expert site. It could be kind of interesting. You have sections all on wedding planners. Have affiliate. This is how bloggers make money.
Yeah.
Imagine you have a whole page about wedding planners, and anybody that goes through your site and books Allie, the wedding planner, Allie gives you a kickback. Add a page all about like cool party favors, and you're featuring all these people on Etsy that make like wine stuff page, and they do like table number doodads.
I was
Etsy
kind of
has a
noticing
billion.
like David's Bridal and stuff. They were doing similar stuff like that to like get content and everything on there and put the like kind of like planning a wedding. So
Yeah.
we're gonna throw this stuff up there. So you're looking at our website and checking out all the dresses with it and everything
right,
else.
but David's Bridal is a multi-million-dollar
Yeah,
company,
that's true.
and they're making money by you buying the dresses.
That's true.
I'm saying there is potential for you to visualize it as an affiliate program. So people start following you. They say, oh my gosh, Alex posts great things, great content, great advice on weddings. Okay, or somebody reaches you, oh, these cool table toppers, I'm gonna order them through Etsy. If they go through your site, you're getting a kickback.
Oh, gotcha.
So that's why I'm saying, if this is about decide exactly who your client is going to be before you go much further with this. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I got what you mean.
If it's going to be straight up e-commerce, that might be a little bit, I mean, if it's straight up e-commerce, oh, there's nothing wrong with designing an e-commerce site. Is it just an online business, or is it the website for an actual brick and mortar store? You know, honestly, with like e-commerce sites now, like so many people use packaged shopping carts and whatnot. There's not tons of, I mean, there's some room for design in terms of color and style and that kind of stuff. So nail down exactly who your client is and how the site's going to make money. What is the objective of the site? I can't really read your objective statement.
Yeah, I was kind of thinking more like a brick and mortar kind of like store in general.
Right.
Or currently has many calls about dresses which they carry.
Right.
It's
so
just all
imagine
kind of
your
like
store.
fake.
Imagine like, you know, in Bridesmaid,
Yeah.
she poops on that for the street. I mean, think about like, imagine your store is like, you know, the quintessential experience. You want to make up a story for your client. This is a store, you know, people are ordering more online. You want to drive traffic into the store, and that by communicating, you know, this is an experience and a tradition. You go to the store and you try on a dress, and your mom sits there and your sister sits there and you drink champagne and, you know, you giggle and your mom cries, and, you know, like that's what you want to, that's what
Portray.
Yes. So oh shoot, I forgot to mention this to James. James had a bunch of statistics in there 70,000 average income. You can't just put that out there without like having anything to back that up. But what you might want to put in your proposal is like wedding dress online sales. Maybe there's some statistics you find that say that people are more and more buying online. Here's what they value for a wedding dress, da 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 da. The goal of this website is to get to celebrate the experience, you know, in the brick and mortar location, and you know.
Oh yeah, it makes way more sense. Kind of helps me go on there.
Yeah, just make up the fantasy of who this client is.
Yeah, and then kind of like try to pinpoint that.
Yes, exactly. And what is the problem that you're trying to solve? You want to get people in the store buying dresses and not ordering off of eBay. Or you want people to come in and like have that moment.
Yeah, I get what you mean. That makes way more sense. Now I kind of know
Okay.
where to go from there.
And your flowchart too, we'll talk a lot more about flowcharts, but can you put this
Yeah.
up again? Change a little bit.
Yeah.
And you might revisit this and think, okay, well, part of like the experience, the dress, the experience, you know, some of your sections may change because of your intended objective.
Yeah.
Right?
Try to get more like here's the studio, or
Yeah.
versus where you would be, you know, come get a glass, you get a free glass of wine if you come try on a dress or something.
Right. It's about the experience. When you do flowcharts too, you know, you don't want, your least important thing is the lines. That's your
Yeah.
least important.
And that's kind of what you see the most.
Exactly. So toning down that line work and making it, how can we still understand the relationship, but how can we understand the relationship but we don't see black lines and arrows more than the content itself? How are you guys doing? You have some work to show? Do you want to pull it up?
Not the show, I need to work
Oh, okay.
on that, so. I don't have it.
That's okay, but as long as you are, I think that we do so much, pretty much this class is critique. And I think you do learn a lot by seeing other people's stuff and talking about it. And although it sucks to have to present, you're like, oh, I don't want to present. It definitely moves, it's gonna move you forward. So you'll have to do it 8 times one way or another, so you'll get to it.
I know Friday.
Okay, all right, so I'll schedule a time on Friday. It would probably be earlier in the day.
Earlier in the day.
You don't have to join if you don't want to.
Yeah.
It would just be like an opportunity to get another critique. So before I forget, I'm going to, if we're good, I'm going to stop the broadcast and I'm going to go make sure that I update grades so that